In one of my recent videos, I covered some different processes you could use on glue chip glass to achieve sort of different effects other than just applying gold leaf. Within a day of releasing that video, one of the Facebook group members, a guy called Philip, asked me if I'd ever used chameleon paints, which I'd never heard of them, so I looked into them and then bought some straight away. And I've spent the last couple of weeks experimenting with them in a reverse glass capacity, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. But before I crack on with that, if you're a fan of reverse glass, sign painting, gold leaf, digital processes and much more, then you're in the right place, because that's all this channel's about. I'll try to release a video every couple of weeks. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. There's also a link to my Etsy shop and the Facebook group. And I've now just finally set up something called Buy Me a Coffee, which is if you ever just fancy buying me a coffee, I can't promise I'll spend the money on coffee, then you can just do a kind of one-off donation. It really helps support the channel. But anyway, that out of the way, let's crack on with it. Right, so I'm here in the shed and I've got myself a standard 8x10" mirror, and then I've done a little Lovecraftian design that I've put on the back. Now, getting that on the back, it's kind of cut into a bit of vinyl, and then we apply this as a stencil to be used as a sort of sandblast resistant mask. If you haven't seen this process before, I've covered this in other videos, so I'll put a link to those up here to save going through the whole process from start to finish. But for now, what I'm going to do is the standard process, which is just to sandblast away, and then whatever the sort of vinyl is covering will be protected and won't be seen on this side of the mirror. The difference is I'm then going to start taking some of the other vinyl away and then give it a second sandblast. The reason for that is the chameleon paint reacts to light. So although if you just apply it to a flat surface, it's going to sort of change as you move around it or if you shine light on it, I want this to kind of have all different colour changes, you know, through the different elements of it. And if we have contours, that's how that will work. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. It will make sense later when I start the painting. But anyway, I'm going to get the first lot of blasting done on this, then get it out, pick the remainder of the vinyl out, and then kind of put it in for a second go. Right? Right, so this is what we've got so far. And I've sandblasted this a bit deeper than I normally would, and that's just because, you know, I want to get those contours as good as I can. But this isn't the best vinyl, so I couldn't go too hard on it in case it ripped. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the kind of little suction pads on the tentacles, and I'm going to take out everything that's around the circle and within the border. So yeah, I'm just going to pick that off, put it back in the sandblaster, and then blast the mirror coating away, and then we'll come back and get painting. Right, glass is ready, so moving on to the paint. So this is what they are. They're chameleon paints. They come in a small little bottle like inks. They're by a company called Green Stuff World. I assume they're called that because every single one of these colours at one point when you shine a light on it, it'll be green. So the purple then change into green, pink changing into green, which is perfect because I'm going for a kind of greenish theme, I suppose. You know, it's a mythical sea creature, so it should look pretty good, I reckon. But when you look on the sort of website with the instructions of how to use these, it says the preferred method is an airbrush, but you can use a paintbrush. Now, I've found that's not the case with reverse glass because, as you know, if you're painting the back of a bit of glass, it doesn't matter what that looks like. It doesn't matter if it goes on evenly, as long as it goes on to a point where it's not going to be see-through. So these you have to apply in layers ordinarily if you were using an airbrush or if you were painting the outside of something. I am going to do it in layers, but I'm going to do it really thick and not care about the fact that there's going to be kind of, rivers of this in some points. So yeah, let's get cracking and see how it comes out. Right, so I've got all my colours here. And I'm going to make sure that I use different colours for the different sections of the panel. So what I'm also going to have is I'm going to keep the box at hand because that gives me my colour chart. So I can sort of see which one I want to use and know that sort of what sort of colour change will happen with that particular one. So I've got myself a little palette, and this goes on quite thin. I know I said you can apply it thick, but it's not like paint, it's more like ink. So I'm going to put a little bit in here, then apply it and then leave it to dry. It doesn't take long to dry, and you can wash your brushes with water, so it's not a pain just having to keep using white spirit and stuff like that. So let's just get a brush and get started, and I'm going to go with this colour here, which is Martian green, which is sort of a purpley colour that turns into green. Now it says to shake them properly, so you can hear there's a little ball in there for mixing it up, so give it a really good shake. Then just going to put a really small bit in, just enough to do kind of my first coat or something like that. So what I'm looking at here is something like that. Looks about right. So let's get painting. So you see how that goes on, like I say, like a sort of more of an ink than a paint. But it is a bonus, it being reverse glass. You know, the tutorials I watch with people doing it on the outside of surfaces, they have to be so, you know, careful if they're using a brush, applying it in really thin coats so it's sort of even. But like I said, we don't need to worry about that with the reverse work. Okay, so I've gone through most of the colours and just applied them to a different section of the panel. And as you can see, it looks pretty horrible at the moment. It's really vibrant. You know, the colours don't go, and it looks a bit patchy. That is not how this will look in the end. And this is sort of a little bit deceiving, because if I show you now, if I turn this light on, you can see how translucent this ink is, or this paint. And this is a lot that's on there. I don't need to do much more. You know, when they show the demo and it's with an airbrush, it's such a fine mist and they do like 5-6 coats or something like that. This is good in terms of the kind of tone, but you know, there's patches and stuff like that. So I'm just going to do a thin coat of these colours over this again. And then I'm going to back it up with black, because that's what's going to kind of make these colours go much richer than they are. At the moment, they look sort of illuminous, really. And what I can show you now is if I flip this over, you can already see that that is a much more toned down version of those colours. And then if I pop the black behind, and this won't be anywhere near as good as putting the black paint on it, but I'll just get my torch. I'm not sure how much of that you can see from there, whether that's affecting it, but that's more like what it's going to look like, but a little bit richer than that. So what I'm going to do is just another coat of the colours that I've used, and I'm going to back that up with black spray paint, and we'll come back and see what it looks like. Okay, so let's have a look at this and have a look at each colour and see which ones work and which ones don't. So I'm just going to move around this without sort of adding a light source, and you can definitely see the colours changing on the kind of alien green, I think it was called, but certainly on Old Cthulhu in the centre. And this reddy green band, that really does change colour. That's going from like a sort of bright pink, and then as you move around it, that goes to a kind of greeny colour. The others I'm just not seeing, you know, like that gold, that's supposed to go from gold to green, or green to gold, and that was the bit I was really hoping would pop because of the kind of, you know, the nice contours there, but I'm just not seeing that at all. To me, it just looks like gold or a little bit brighter gold. I don't know, I might be a bit colourblind. And the other colours, this kind of turquoise, I'm not seeing much of a colour shift with that. It might be, you know, that some are much more subtle than others, but I'm so impressed with that the alien type colour one, just going from green to purple like that, and it looks so nice in the contours of the like little suction pads, which I'd have loved to have had that effect over here. But let's have a look if we shine a light on this, if it makes a difference. So, see, that's such a huge difference to just moving a light around that. It looks amazing on the colours that work, but the others, they're just a little bit too subtle in terms of the colour changes. Now, they're still beautiful colours and they're iridescent and they look amazing, but not what I was after. So this, if you can buy them individually, I didn't check, but if you can, I would certainly recommend that colour, which is called, hang on, let me check, Martian Green. And the other one, the pink colour, is called Red Goblin. And they, you know, the pink and the purple they really change colours completely. So, I mean, this piece, all in all, I would have never chosen this colour scheme for a piece like this, but, you know, it's a video to kind of evaluate a product, show a new sort of technique, so I wanted to use all of them to see, you know, whether they're worth getting and how they work. So, you know, if I was to redo this piece, I think I'd just do it using those two particular colours, but maybe I'll get round to it one day. I've decided I'm not happy to leave it there. You know, I've got the ability to redo this, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it on video. Now, like I said, it's not that I don't like the quality of these, and ironically, as I was bringing this outside, I really did see the green pop in that gold. So, you know, maybe my crap little test with just a light in my dining room wasn't the best example, but still, it's this piece. You know, it's supposed to be something that's dark and mythical, and it looks, yeah, well, a little bit too vibrant for me. So there's two ways of removing this stuff. You can use acetone, similar like nail varnish remover, that'll come off. I'm going to go with the sandblasting method, just because I think it's going to be quicker. So I've just masked off the bit that I want to keep, and then I'm just going to sandblast away that paint. I haven't done this before with this particular paint, so I don't know how hard it is, but it works really well with enamels. You know, you can just sandblast it away really easily. The other reason I'm going for this method first is that acetone will remove the vinyl, so I'll lose my ability to put this back in the sandblaster if I don't like any other results, or, you know, this paint is on thick. Now, I spilt some yesterday and used the acetone to get it up, and it was quite, you know, laborious getting it up. It came up, but it was a bit of a pain, so I just thought, try the sandblaster first. If it's a bit patchy and the paint's really hard to get off, then I'll soak it in acetone and do it that way. But anyway, I'm going to crack on and start making this look how it should do. Okay, so that didn't work. So I'm going with the acetone method. It's not that you won't get it off with a sandblaster, it's that the paint wasn't going on evenly, so it's not going to come off evenly. So I don't know if you can see the little bit where it was coming off, that's started to get a like stippled effect where it's coming off, you know, in kind of different layers, and that is going to look sort of weird when I remove it all, because it'll be a sort of uneven texture. And I mean, I'm not fussed that little bit will be like it, but, you know, I'd rather this was nice and even as it is at the moment, so I'm just going to soak this in acetone to get it off, and hopefully it does come off.